Hello and welcome to SWP in 3. That's Stay, Work, Play in 3. If we haven't met, my name is Will Stewart and I am the Executive Director of Stay, Work, Play New Hampshire and would like to welcome you to this webinar today where we're going to be talking about Stay, Work, Play's direction for the next 3 years and our new strategic plan. So about a couple of years ago, the board of directors here at Stay, Work, Play were talking and really saw the need for the organization to be even more impact-driven. Just by way of background, Stay, Work, Play has been in existence for 10 years now, and really kind of what we're terming phase 1 of our organization was really to really showcase the need to attract and retain more young people. And 10 years ago, you might recall, kind of at the height of the Great Recession, that was not a fact that a lot of people ascribed to. They saw back then there were a lot of job applicants, but not a lot of jobs. So a lot of business owners in particular really didn't see the need to attract and retain more young people. And so through a number of years of hard work, people have really come to see the need that exists to attract and retain more young people here in the States, recognizing that we are the second oldest state in the country. Now, here in New Hampshire, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the nation at 2.4%, and combined with the fact that we lead the nation also in the percentage of high school graduates that we export out of state to achieve a 4-year degree. At now 61% of students leaving the state to pursue that degree. So all of those kind of combined, in addition to the work this organization has done over the years, has really gotten people to recognize that yes, we do in fact need to attract and retain more young people. So phase 1 of our mission accomplished. The question now is, well, okay, now everybody gets it. What are we going to do about it? And that was something that we saw the need to really recognize that if we're going to make an impact, that we need to be very focused in what we're doing. And to do that, we saw the need very quickly to know that we needed data. And we are a small organization. We do cover the entire state, but we're a small organization, a staff of 3, and a budget of about $200,000. So to say we're under-resourced is an understatement for the tasks that we're up against. So again, recognizing that if we're going to make an impact, we need to be very focused, and for that we need numbers. So in partnership with Eversource, we commissioned a survey of 20 to 40-year-olds living here in New Hampshire, really looking to gain insight into the factors that young people take into consideration when making the decision to leave New Hampshire or to stay. And really that, the results we got from that survey are really the backbone. They underpin, our entire strategic plan. And that was conducted in December of 2017, and we started sharing those results publicly, got those last spring, and really used those throughout last summer and the fall to put together this plan we're going to be talking a little bit about today. Of course, in conjunction with the data itself, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but not a lot today, but in conjunction with that, in making this plan, we had a lot of great conversations with, I'm sure some of you who are on this webinar today and the organizations that you represent and other stakeholders across the state, including members of our board of advisors, which are companies who invest in the mission of Stay, Work, Play, as well as a number of our other partners, including the state's Young Professionals Networks and others that we work with to advance our mission to attract and retain more young people. So what came out of that almost year-long process, looking at where we go, this strategic planning process, were really 4 strategic initiatives, kind of 4 pillars, and I'll be going through these one by one here in the coming minutes, but really they are to connect, to advocate, to brand, and to promote. So first of all is connect. This is something that really came out of what was arguably the most surprising insights of the survey that was conducted. And that's where we found what we term the loneliness factor, also has been called now the friendless fifth. That is, 21% of respondents said they didn't have a single friend nearby. And that's sad, you know, on a personal level. It's very concerning from an employee retention standpoint, you know, recognizing the facts, you know, kind of looking into this data a little bit more and studying it, having conversations about it. You know, we recognize the fact that if a person doesn't have friends, you know, they're not very connected. And their job is probably just a job. And if they get another one that, you know, elsewhere that perhaps offers them more money or advances their career or takes them back to where their friends and family actually are, they're that much more likely to go. So that, you know, we saw and see the need to connect people to increase the chances that they will stay here and not just have a job, but have a life as well. So we're going to be working to connect young people to each other, you know, to the entire state, the communities they're in, to their employees, and to nonprofit and civic groups. So how are we going to do that? First will be through events, and you know, some of which you know, we have you may be familiar with, including our Rising Stars Awards, kind of our signature annual event where we bring together young people and employers and others from across the state every fall. This year will be Thursday, October 17th, again at the Currier Museum of Art in Manchester, as well as our new this year, a Rising Stars Mixer, where we'll bring together you know, those who have been nominated for the Rising Stars Awards this year, as well as past award winners and sponsors and some other folks. So be on the lookout for details of that event, which will be coming up in August. We'll also be bringing people together in physical space through our Politics Unplugged 2020 program. You may remember this is kind of the next iteration of a former series we held called Life of the Party. And again, taking advantage of the fact that New Hampshire is the first in the nation primary state, bringing together young people and candidates to talk about issues that are important to young people here. And then, of course, I know a number of you were at the Changemaker Summit, New Hampshire Next Summit for Young Changemakers last month at St. Anselm. And really, that event, you know, came directly, you know, from this this initiative to connect people. And in this case, you know, what we call change makers, you know, those who want to improve their communities and their corners of the state, to bring them together for an afternoon of inspiration and networking and learning. And we were blown away by the success and the energy that came out of that room. And again, you know, kind of the overall, you know, thinking being that if we can get more people, you know, engaged in their communities, not only are they meeting people and getting connected to other people, but they're getting connected to their communities and other organizations therein, and again, are much more likely to kind of create and maintain those bonds that go beyond just the job, so that you have all of this glue, you know, working to keep people here. And especially when they can see that they can make a difference here in New Hampshire more so than other places, I think, you know, kind of really working to brand the state as a place where young people can make a difference here, you know, perhaps more than any other places. Certainly they can do it more quickly and more cheaply, you know, here. So that's going to be a narrative that Stay Work Play will definitely be pushing in the coming years. And then also we'll be doing this through our Young Professional Network Summits. This is something we do every year for the leadership of the state's 14 plus now young professional networks, bringing together their leadership, you know, for a day of networking and collaboration and learning as well. One moment, having a bit of technical difficulties getting the slides to advance. All right, there we go. So, you know, we're also working to, you know, connect young people via organizations, including, first and foremost, those young professional networks I mentioned. Again, 14 active groups now across the state, and you know, each of these groups is, you know, are their own independent organizations. But you know, Stay Work Play, we kind of serve and are working to, you know, really to connect these groups to each other, and you know, kind of serve as a conduit and as a thank you, and as a means for these folks to get together and to learn from one another. We also were working to connect people via information. Over here on the right, you can see it's kind of, these are really new blog topics that we've introduced. Stay Work Play has long had a pretty robust blog system for a number of years and has been revamped in recent months, to really reflect, a lot of the issues and topics that we found that young people are interested in, and again, helping them to get more connected to New Hampshire and to other people, doing interesting things here, through our blog, both allowing people to write and share their experiences, and to learn and see a lot of the best kept secrets, as we say, that New Hampshire has to offer. And that's really those best kept secrets are something that we also are looking to really share through what we're calling our Insider's Guides. You can see here on the left, this is the cover of our first Insider's Guide to Greater Manchester that we'll be publishing just in a few weeks in conjunction with Eversource, our sponsor on that, and the Manchester Young Professionals Network. We're going to be putting out guides like this for every region in the state. So, Monadnock region, Lakes region, Upper Valley, Seacoast, and so forth. Really as a means, we're really having these designed for, companies, employers to use to help sell the regions they're in. We talk to a lot of HR folks here at Stay Work Play, and one of the things we hear them say is that increasingly younger employees and prospective employees are, they're still asking questions about the jobs and that are being offered and they're interviewing for, things like, salaries often, of course, their number one concern, and things like benefits and company culture and opportunities for advancement and all that, still, those things are still key. But that increasingly they're asking, okay, I work for you 8, 9, 10 hours a day. What do I do the rest of the time, in the Lakes region, for example, or in the Nashua region? And these are guides that we're putting together, and some of you who were at the Young Professionals Network Summit back in the fall helped us to come up with some initial content for these guides, really sharing, again, these kind of best kept secrets, some that are maybe not so secret, the great restaurants and, things to do outdoors and otherwise, but also, where people can, you'll find all the cool local shops and craft breweries and places to go, you'll find your people, basically, and meet other people. So again, we see this as a great way to help connect people to one another and to kind of find their tribes. Our second pillar is to advocate, and this is definitely also kind of a new venture for Stay Work Play this year, and again, really looking to kind of advocate from a state level, on a lot of the issues that we found in the survey data as to be important to young people, again, influencing those decisions as to whether they stay or to go. So as you can see, kind of the top issues that came out of that survey, really the first two were, if you want to call them cons, two of the biggest reasons that people leave the state are housing affordability or the lack thereof, and then options, both in the rental and homeownership markets, not being able to A, find a good place, and B, find a place they can afford. Second is, education debt, and the other side of that coin being the cost of college education here in the state of New Hampshire. And then finally, we're in Concord as our third stool to really protect New Hampshire's outdoor recreation amenities and opportunities. That being, those being a main reason that a lot of people come to New Hampshire and stay in New Hampshire because of everything they can do in the outdoors. So we definitely don't want to kill the golden goose there. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to engage in this advocacy? One is through direct lobbying. We've started a government affairs committee, an advocacy committee, I should say, here at Stay Work Play that's open to one and all, meets the second Friday of the month at 8:30. And this is a group that really kind of helps Stay Work Play vet through all of the bills that are filed in Concord, usually about 1,000 each year, and really determine which ones, make some recommendations on which ones Stay Work Play ought to support and which ones we ought to oppose. And you're really kind of using our frame of these policy priorities that I mentioned last slide, so that our board of directors can take those recommendations and give it the official thumbs up or thumbs down. And for those bills that have been deemed that we want to get involved in, going to Concord, usually myself. I am a registered lobbyist now on behalf of Stay Work Play, and are able to go up there and talk to legislators about these bills and our concerns about the issues around them. This is something that we're pretty excited about, and we've really gotten some positive feedback on. I think up in Concord, it seems like every kind of special interest group has their own lobbyist in Concord. Whether we're talking about the Lodging and Restaurant Association, the Automobile Dealers Association, the Insurance Association, Hospital Association. But no one's really there speaking explicitly on behalf of young people and the issues that we face. And so that's kind of our main reason for wanting to be there and do that. We'll also be engaging in advocacy through our events. Some of you, I think, were in attendance at our legislative reception that we held back in January in Concord, in which we honored the kind of record number of young legislators that were elected to state office this past year, 40 plus, and a great way to kind of remind legislators, all the legislators, of the issues that are important to young people, and to begin to forge those relationships with them too, so that we want, if they ever have a question on a particular piece of legislation, whether it's something we're specifically engaged in or not, we want them to say, in any piece of legislation that comes before them, if they have a question, how will this affect young people? We want Stay Work Play to be positioned as kind of the first call they make, to find out, and we are beginning to get some of those calls, which we are happy about. I mentioned again a few minutes ago our Politics Unplugged, which will be bringing in one of the 500, a number of the 500 plus, it seems, declared candidates for president will be coming through. And again, we're partnering with the New Hampshire Institute of Politics at St. Anselm College again for this. And I think it's going to be another great event, and we're going to be kicking this up a notch this year. You'll be hearing some more about kind of the new exciting changes that will be coming to this event, and hope to see a lot of you there. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of way to get up close and personal with a lot of these big name candidates, and to really talk about, again, the issues that matter to young people here, which I think often get lost in the larger political conversations. But to the extent that we can take advantage of being first in the nation here and drive that conversation, perhaps nationally on issues, because issues like housing affordability and student debt, while they are certainly very pronounced here in New Hampshire, they do have national implications, and I think young people are struggling with these things all over. So I think we do have a good chance to influence that conversation. We're also working to engage in advocacy via kind of public education and informing the general public of the issues that are important to young people, whether that's sharing media stories and others, kind of highlighting the issues and really showing that human element, via our social media platforms, whether it's by writing op-eds, as we have done so far, and you're really getting the word out across the states through the state's media channels. And also we started, some of you I think are signed up for our newest email newsletter, which is called the State House Skinny. Again, working to keep people informed in a kind of hopefully easily digestible way of the issues facing young people in the state, and how Stay Work Play is getting involved, and how everyone who cares about these issues can also get involved. So if you're not already subscribed to that, we hope you will do that, and you can do that at stayworkplay.org/advocacy. So our last two kind of strategic initiatives, the pillars, if you will, are kind of continuations of really where Stay Work Play started, and that is branding and promoting the state as a place of opportunity for young people. That's always kind of been our bread and butter, and will continue to be a major part of what we do. And as those of you in marketing know, that once you really begin marketing and branding, it's not really something that you can ever really stop. And we have no intention of doing that either. So With regard to branding the state, as you can see on the screen, we're looking to improve the perception, of New Hampshire and the opportunities here for young people, and those are, really those young people living both in the state and out of state. And again, kind of our takeaways that we want is we want to brand New Hampshire as a place of opportunity to make a living, to make a life, and again, to make a difference, which I think New Hampshire has a really good pitch to make in all of those regards. One thing I'll say too is that we're looking to not just promote New Hampshire to folks who are living here in the state. Though of course that will always kind of this retention will always be a focus of ours. But our mission, of course, here at Stay Work Play is to both attract and retain younger people. So we'll be in these efforts that we'll be talking about here today. We'll really be looking at both in-state and out-of-state audiences that we're looking to reach. So we'll be going through really using digital efforts. Primarily, that's kind of our one of our biggest advantages that we have here is our kind of extensive social media reach. I think 21,000 plus followers across our various platforms, and a great way to get our message out in a very cost-effective manner and meeting our target audience where they are. So our website, Stay Work Play, we're working to revamp that, and you'll see some changes coming there in the future. And of course, via our various social media channels, primarily Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and increasingly LinkedIn as well. I'll mention the publications again. Really we try to get in a lot of the things we do, try to pull double and triple duty and hit a lot of the same, or hit, I should say, some of our different initiatives and use same and similar strategies and tactics to hit a number of our goals. And again, these insiders guides that we're going to be putting out in conjunction with Eversource and the Young Professionals networks across the state are a great way to really kind of begin to change the narrative and continue the change of the narrative of New Hampshire as a place of cool, interesting things to do. And finally, we're again still looking to promote New Hampshire, to promote the state as a whole, to promote New Hampshire employers, New Hampshire post-secondary educational institutions, to be more attractive to young people. Ultimately, we want more young people to stay here and to come here, and it's not going to happen, on its own. So again, we'll be promoting via publications, including, I mentioned the State House Skinny a few minutes ago, as well as our internship guide, which we launched several months ago. Again, looking, this is really helping, companies. We want to see more companies offering more internships. There's national data to suggest that if a student has an internship, he or she is twice as likely to stay in the state where that internship occurs as a student who does not have an internship, 12 to 18 months post-graduation. So that's kind of our incentive and why we're kind of doubling down on internships. And really, we put together this guide, and when I say we, I mean Beth Sansusi, our communications and outreach manager here at State Work Play, put this together. Really as a means of helping companies to kind of figure out and navigate the sometimes confusing worlds of internships, and answering a lot of nuts and bolts questions and legalities, looking at the law and things like that, as well as what do you have an internship? What do you have an intern do on the first day, and how do you evaluate the success of an internship program? So we're seeing a lot of success here too. And for anyone who's interested, this is also available at stayworkplay.org. We'll also be promoting the state via events, and this will be something new we'll be doing later this year. Boomerang Week. Boomerang, you may be aware, is kind of a term that's used for folks who have left the state. Maybe they grew up here, went off to college, and haven't come back, or maybe they came to college here and they're from away, went to college here, and then left. But these are people who are people who might boomerang back. That is to say, prospective people who might return to New Hampshire. And we think, with regard to a lot of efforts to be done to target those on the attraction piece, those who are outside of New Hampshire at present, that these boomerangers or potential boomerangers, it's low-hanging fruit. These are people who have already had some type of experience with New Hampshire, a minimum of 4 or 5 years at college, but perhaps as many as 18 when they were growing up here. So with regard to Boomerang Week, this is something we're going to be doing around Thanksgiving. So kind of the week of Thanksgiving and the weekend after there, really looking to promote the state, for people who are coming here, to visit family for the holidays. And as sure as many of you know, kind of the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving and really that whole weekend is kind of an informal high school reunion for a lot of folks. So we figured, we'll target people where they are. So we'll be having events, as they're coming into the state, looking at doing things at the welcome centers, at the airport, various bus stations, all the way through to the bars that a lot of people are congregating at and meeting their friends. After they've had before and after they've had their family time. So you'll be hearing more about this in the coming months. Also, we'll be doing some advertising. Excuse me. Both in and out of the states. Really partnering with a couple of our newer partners, both iHeartRadio, so we can do some targeted ads in things like podcasts and streaming music, and some predetermined locations that we think might, based on our research, be fertile ground for sharing the New Hampshire message for young people, as well as Southern New Hampshire University has generously offered to help us out with some video work that we'll be able to really share some success stories and other kind of great visual video content that we can share, again, in a very cost-effective manner via social media. So that is really, that's kind of an overview of where we are right now. We'll be wanting to answer any questions you might have in a few minutes. But before we get to those, I do want to say that we could use your help. As I mentioned a little while ago, we are a very lean organization. As you can see here, we are a staff of 3, as Beth and Sarah, or my colleagues, like to say. We're a small but mighty team. As I mentioned, also we have a very small budget of about $200,000, and we receive, contrary to popular belief, we do not receive any funding from the state of New Hampshire. So we're entirely dependent on donations and investments from both the private sector and individuals. So we could use your help in a number of ways. As volunteers, certainly volunteers are always needed for our events, which are usually large events. More than 3 people can staff, certainly. And I thank those of you who have helped us out before. And some of our upcoming opportunities include our Rising Stars Awards event and our Rising Stars Mixer that I mentioned both. And we can also use your help on, if you're interested in sharing what you love about New Hampshire via our blogs. I know a couple of the bloggers I know are on this webinar today, and we thank you for that. And it's a great opportunity to really be an ambassador, for New Hampshire and to share a lot of what you love about the state. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say we could use your money as well. And your employer's money, for those of you who work for organizations that you have a need to attract and retain younger employees. Our Board of Advisors is a group that, as I mentioned, these are companies that invest $2,000 a year in helping us meet our mission, kind of enlighten self-interest, because we all need more workers. And this is a great group and really our primary source of funding here at Stay Work Play. So I'd be happy to talk with anyone's companies about opportunities that exist there and all the various benefits that come with our Board of Advisors membership. And of course, we do take individual donations as well, and you can find us on Venmo there at Stay Work Play NH, as well as donations can be taken on our website as well. So I would encourage you right before we get into questions, to, if you're not already connected with us, to please sign up for our monthly email newsletter, our general email newsletter, I should say, as well as our State House Skinny newsletter, and please follow us on social media as well, certainly where you can get the most up-to-date and timely updates and news of all the things that we're doing and a lot of the cool things that are happening around the state and that a lot of the groups like the Young Professional Networks across the state are doing. So with that, I know I've done a lot of talking here for about 30 minutes and did promise that this would be this would be no longer than 45 minutes. So we'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have. If you have a question, you can look up at the top of your screen there and find the kind of the conversation bubble there. Click that and type away, and we will be happy to answer any questions you might have. All right, see a question here. Let's see, the national internship stat again. Yes, so I can find the source for that, but it's the fact that said that, and this is national data, not state data, but says that if someone has an internship in a state, they're they're twice as likely to stay in the state they have that internship, 12 to 18 months post-graduation. And if you're interested in internships, by the way, I would encourage you to visit nhinternships.com, and you can post internships there too, as well as find ones to have for yourself or anyone you know who might be trying to get to stay here in New Hampshire. And that Sarah is telling me that 45.6% is the average conversion rate from intern to hire. So internships are great. Let's see. Steve asks, are you including public transit and bike ped infrastructure as part of your housing advocacy work? Not specifically. Recognizing, we recognize, of course, that pretty much everything is connected, and certainly that is to housing as well. Some of the issues that, specific issues you can find with regard to advocacy and the bills that we're engaged in, you can find the specific bills at stayworkplay.org/advocacy. I will say, though, that in the survey that I mentioned earlier, lack of public transit was mentioned as a reason that people consider leaving New Hampshire. It wasn't certainly near the top of the issues like housing itself was, but it is certainly on our radar. Let's see, Sarah asked about so she loves the emphasis on internships, got her job through an internship, awesome. But funding an internship is tough for a tiny nonprofit. Do you have any resources or fundraising grant dollars specifically for paying an intern? Stewart Play does not, no. Recognizing that it's certainly tough, and paying interns is tough. It's tough for us here at Stewart Play. We're able to offer a small stipend, but definitely not as much as we would like. So we do not, I'm afraid, have any resources for that. But it's certainly something that we can poke around, and I can ask some of my colleagues here to see if they might be familiar with any other sources for that. All right, James Vayo asks, it's really interesting that not having a friend is a primary reason for leaving the state. I wonder how much of that is driven by the desire for young people to live in urban walkable environments that are close to jobs and things to do. New Hampshire has just a few locations that cater to that market. Is there any advocacy planned around communities that caters to the priorities of young people? So this kind of talks to a challenge that we face here in New Hampshire. We've talked a little bit about at our advocacy level. In that, a lot of the decisions that are made with regard to, housing in particular, but I would say also, transportation and kind of that urban walkable environments, and bikeable and everything too, are really made at the local level. And it's something I think that we would like to see Stewart Play get engaged in. And it's a question of resources. There being 234 municipalities across the state, but it is something that we're looking to get involved with other groups, including the municipal association. Also looking to we mentioned some publications earlier. One of the ones we're looking at too is kind of a guide that we can create for municipalities who are looking to become, for lack of, we'll think of a better term, but young people friendly, millennial friendly, to help them. As they're thinking about guidelines, everything from like minimum size lots to inclusion of bike lanes and things like that. All right, I have a question from Sarah. I notice often the rising stars are nominated via those that are involved in the Young Professional Networks, but what about other efforts? What other efforts are made to find those that might be young professional in lesser known arenas? Whether they're not sorry, having trouble reading here, whether they're not able to be as involved as, say, in those without children. Yeah, there are so many young professionals in public service who have children but can't find the extra time to do self-promotion. Also, what is the demographic category that Stay Work Play considers a young person? So to answer the last part first, young person generally, for our purposes, is 40 and under. It's and I recognize the need too with regard to the challenge that you bring up with regard to nominees for for our Rising Stars Awards and other awards programs too. The 40 under 40s and things like that. I do think we are trying to make an extra effort here at Stay Work Play, but this is something that we could also use all of your help on too, is to to really reach out, to others and to nominate them. A lot of people aren't, self-promoters and oftentimes don't have the time. You're right. I have a kid myself. I know that it's, finding the time to get involved in a lot of extra stuff, is not always easy. So it's not a perfect answer, but I think, to the extent that, we can help show, how people are getting involved, while also, I think mentioning kind of the limitations and challenges that people are up against are certainly something that would be taken into consideration by judges as well. Let's see. Christina asked, does Stay Work Play work with the Department of Economic Development to assist in any of the poaching or attraction of companies that pay young people well? So we are a partner certainly with the the newly rebranded Department of Business and Economic Affairs and their Division of Economic Development. I would say that while we don't directly work with them to say go have one-on-one conversations with companies that are out of state, we are used as a resource by them. I talk to the Commissioner Taylor Caswell on a regular basis, as well as Will Arbello, the Director of Economic Development. And they tell me that they use Stay Work Play in our website, and I think they'll be using these insiders guides too, for companies and resources that they can share with companies and HR folks, to help answer questions about, particularly what can these companies' young employees do around here if if and when they decide to relocate those companies here. So we really serve as a resource for them, but we're not directly assisting with those efforts. See, Emily asks, what have you found to be the general response of state legislators to some of the initial lobbying work that Stay Work Play is doing? So it's been pretty positive so far. We've had a number of people, I would say both legislators and those in the private sector too, saying, this is great. We love hearing, from young people and hearing about people weighing in on these issues from that perspective. One of the things about the New Hampshire legislature is that it's still, even with this influx of 40+ young people under the age of 40 in the legislature now, it's still the oldest average legislature in the country. I mean, I get why that is. We pay our legislators $100, and you pretty much have to be retired or independently wealthy to do it. But what that means, of course, is that you get a lot of older retired people. And so I think from what I've heard, particularly from some of the older folks, is that they appreciate having the younger people's perspective, on these issues that they don't often hear. So it's a long, I think I'm talking in circles. That's a long way of saying it's been a very positive response so far. Jamie asks, is there any way we can relate the great work Stay Work Play does to help reduce/increase the declining enrollment in our schools, or working with districts to help young people with young people recruitment into their local towns and cities? I think it's definitely a challenge. We're in some parts of the states more than others. Some are actually seeing increases, and one of the there are a number of good, positive lights. It's not all doom and gloom. Please don't take everything the wrong way. We certainly have our challenges, and I think we like to focus on those. And certainly in a lot of these cities and towns that are losing school-age population, I think we do need to work. And we can all work together. I think, again, what can you do? Point a lot of folks, to stayworkplay.org. I think it's, it's something that, can be used as a resource, particularly for people out of state, but even in state, to get a better idea of what's going on in all of the local communities. I would say, ultimately, communities, individual communities, have to be a place that people want to live, and I think that to the extent that we can all work to make our own communities better, we will positively impact a number of things, including the school-age population. I mentioned Commissioner Taylor Caswell earlier from the Department of Business and Economic Affairs, and we were talking the other day about the town of Littleton, up north, and it's a town where a lot of other North Country towns are really really struggling. Littleton is, for lack of a better word, it's booming. I don't know when Littleton got cool, but it's cool, and it's not just the beer and a lot of the funky shops, but I think that kind of adds to it. But they're actually seeing an increase in their school-age population. Others I know like Derry are not. They've seen something like a 15–18% reduction in the 0 to 18 population over the past dozen years. So it's definitely a challenge, but I think ultimately it has to communities need to be places where young families feel welcome and wanted. So to the extent that we can all help our communities become those things, and whether it's amenities or really just welcoming new people and getting them connected, I think that's something that we can all do. All right, trying to see. I think that's all. I think we've addressed all the questions that I've seen. Here comes another one coming in. We'll again recognize when we're coming up on our 45-minute time limit, so I will not be offended if people need to hop off and get to their next meeting. But as long as people have questions, I'm happy to stay here and start asking them. Oh, Sarah, no need to apologize. Sarah asks, does Stay Work Play also have any part of the strategic plan partnership with businesses that hope to attract young workers that will help promote and retain the early childhood workforce that has a depressed professional salary and a decline in the number of those entering the field? Yeah, we're really working to kind of wrap our heads around this one. We're talking about child care facilities here in the state and a lot of the challenges they face, both attracting people to work there and and thus being able to have the capacity to have the slots for people to actually put their kids in child care and to be able to afford to pay for child care, and also for the people who are working in these jobs to be able to make a living as well. It's tough. It is tough. One of the things that we're kind of dipping our toe in the water here and supporting a couple of child care related bills in the legislature this year, and one of those is it's a study committee that will be formed and do some work this summer and early fall, really looking at barriers to child care in this state. And I think that certainly once this committee issues its report, some additional legislation will come out of that, hopefully for the 2020 legislative session, that will really work to address a lot of these. And I would not be surprised at all to see Stay Work Play getting involved in those issues, child care issues as well. I did mention it earlier, but childcare was another one of those data points that came through as a reason that young people consider leaving the state. Lack of access to quality and affordable childcare. So it's definitely something we're hearing a lot more about in our conversations, both with young people themselves and employers who are looking to attract and retain them. Because if people can't find childcare for their kids, it's hard to go to work. All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you all for taking the time to listen today and to learn more about what Stay Work Play is doing and how you can get involved. And again, our strategic plan is it's just that. It's a plan. It's not set in stone, and we recognize the need to be flexible and adaptable, and we're always hoping that if you have any suggestions on what we should be doing, if you see us doing something that you think is weird, let us know, or something that we're not doing that you think we should be doing, let us know. We need that feedback, and also hope that you'll get involved. Again, whether it's volunteering at events, joining some of our committees, or otherwise, attending events and pitching in, blogging, and really sharing, ultimately, sharing your love for New Hampshire and letting everyone you know, singing from the rooftops about how great New Hampshire is and what a great place this is to make a living, to make a life, and to make a difference. So with that, thank you, and have a great day.